television and they're mesmerized. It is something about seeing someone who looks like you, who's doing something positive, who is able to stand up and speak articulately and to a man, and say, excuse me, I'm speaking. It's unfortunate that in 2020, women are still having to almost kowtow to a man who won't even give them the opportunity to let their voice be heard. And where if that were someone else, that would be seen as rude. No one, I heard very few people acknowledge the behavior that was demonstrated by our vice president or call him out on it.
You know, I watched the debate upstairs with students. And in the Black community, there's this rich history of call and response, right? We see it in our churches, we see it in Greek life, right? There's this statement and then there's a response to it. And most of those moments where she said, excuse me, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking, elicited a significant response from the people in the audience, as they wanted to make sure that if they were in the room, he would have heard them too. He could feel their spirit as they shared her concern about not having to be interrupted, right? As the moderator had began this conversation with them, right? But sometimes you still have to be reminded that my voice is important, that my voice matters, right? And that's why we're engaging in these conversations. How is your rice looking?
It's coming along. It's still gonna take a little bit longer, so we can go ahead and start mixing up our spices for our salmon.
I think I need to turn mine down.
I do too.
Okay, yeah.
I turn mine down.
And usually I cover it up to help boil it faster, but what we got is very good.
So now we're going to make this rub.
Yes. So what we have, or I have a list, and it'll be better if I read off the list. So we have lime juice, I believe.
Orange juice?
We have orange juice. We have orange juice, minced garlic. We don't have habanero.
We do?
We do? Oh, I'm sorry. We do have habanero. Soy sauce, olive oil, orange and lime zest, brown sugar, cinnamon, allspice, dry thyme, and kosher salt. We're gonna mix all of that together. And it's about a tablespoon. So let me show it for the audience so they know how much, because we already have ours measured out. So it's a tablespoon of orange juice, 2 cloves of garlic minced, 1 habanero pepper, 1.5 teaspoons of soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of olive oil, 1 teaspoon of lightly packed orange zest, and 1 teaspoon of lightly packed lime zest. 3/4 teaspoons of brown sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, 1/2 teaspoon of dry thyme, and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. So again, we're just going to mix all of these together.
Even in the bowl or just mix?
No, I don't put it in the bowl yet. I just mixed it so I can so they can start blending together the flavors, and then I just pour it on top of my salmon.
It smells good.
Great.
Oh yeah.
Okay, show the camera what yours is looking like. You're a little bit ahead on your, I don't know.
If you can see in this bowl of deliciousness,
It looks good.
It looks great. We got it. Thank you.
Olive oil as well, Kaelyn?
Yes.
You're good.
Did you put the olive oil in there?
I did.
Awesome.
So while we're mixing this and getting this rub, if you will, for the protein, one of the most important things that we've been talking about the last few weeks since the death of the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is what's at stake, particularly as it relates to the Supreme Court. About 2 weeks after the election, there will be a case that's brought before the Supreme Court about the Affordable Care Act, which could essentially kick 20 million people off of their health insurance policies and programs. Right? When we think about the importance of access to affordable health care, what does that mean to you, Dr. Bettis? And then we'll ask you.
Okay.
What I find interesting is they actually did a study, and when they asked people how they felt about the Affordable Care Act, people had very positive feedback regarding the Affordable Care Act. When they did ask them how they felt about Obamacare, it was actually received negatively. So what I don't think people understand is the Affordable Care Act is not solely for those who are low income or oftentimes can't afford care. What about that graduate student who is still on their parents' health plan? Because the Affordable Care Act allows you to be covered by your parents up until the age of 26. It also ensures that if you have a pre-existing condition, like myself, I'm a breast cancer survivor, that I will not be eliminated and not be discriminated against regarding healthcare coverage. So I think people don't truly understand the effect that eliminating the Affordable Care Act will have on a vast number of people. What about the number of people who have been impacted by the coronavirus?
Right.
If you have been impacted by the coronavirus, as our president was, he was stricken by it, yet he will have health coverage because as a sitting president, he will be covered for the rest of his life by a health insurance plan that the taxpayers pay for. However, he wants to take away the health coverage of other individuals who have had the same virus that he had, that he failed to prepare the country for. So I just think about those who fall between the cracks. Imagine graduating from college between the ages of 21 and 26. How many young people can afford health care at that age?
Right.
Yeah.
If you're in graduate school, medical school, law school, whatever you may be doing, or your first job, depending on what that is, you're not going out making a lot of money.
Yeah.
But healthcare is expensive, whether you have HMO, PPO, EPO, whatever it is. So I think that this is very important. I tell people it's not solely every 4 years that we should be voting. We should vote in midterm elections or local elections because that's important as well. So I just believe that this election, like no other, people of color, young people, old people, blue people, green people, we all need to get out and vote.
Absolutely.
And I will speak on that, but first I want to answer some of these questions in the chat. Include seeds in the pepper, yes. And if you don't like spicy things, don't put the seeds in. Also, I thought I saw someone's raise. Yeah, just keep sending in questions, guys.
My rice is done.
Same, I believe mine is too.
And what I also did was I cut up my mushrooms and I put them in the sauce.
Okay.
Versus, because I'm going to pan fry mine. It's going to be delicious.
Right. Are you a vegan or a vegetarian?
Vegan, right?
I am vegan right now. I've been vegetarian since 1993.
Oh, wow.
However, I put on the COVID 19, 20, 28. So I decided that in order to be able to tie my shoes without getting cramped from bending over, I needed to lose a little weight. And as opposed to going to the gym, I decided to change my eating behavior. So from October the 1st until December the 26th, that's when I'll have my birthday cake. I will not have dessert and I will have dairy products and that sort of stuff.
Let's take some dedication, man.
Delicious.
Strict dieting. So let's go ahead and put our salmon in our sauce for us and kind of just toss it around in there. And then we're going to put it on our skillet to start cooking. And some people don't like the skin underneath their salmon. I do. So that's why it's important to put it on a skillet so it can get crunchy, because soft skin on salmon is not the best. So just toss it around.
This is mine. You want to show?
Oh, yes.
Skillet as well.
Yes, yes, absolutely. This is what it looks like. Oh, shoot. It got on my laptop.
Oh, no.
Great. Awesome. That's all right. The audience is laughing at me, and it's okay.
I'm going to put a little.
I'm
We'll
laughing.
put a little Earth Balance vegan butter in my skillet just so that I can.
All right. It kind of made me sad.
We aren't laughing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
right.
Oh, thank you so much. The invisible hand at the bottom has given me paper towel. Okay, let's go ahead and place it on the skillet and let it start doing its thing. Won't have as much seasoning. But I guess I'll speak on the last question just a little bit. And the point you made about coming out of college and definitely still on your parents' plan, because I am on my parents' plan. I go to the doctor and everything goes smoothly because I'm with them. So I can't even imagine my mask. I can't imagine what I would do, what that would even look like. So, and that's something I really learned just from watching the debate, because I didn't know much about healthcare, or like Trump's plan for healthcare rather.
I don't know that he's presented one yet.
Okay, so I'm not missing anything.
Oh, please know that all of you first here on Cooking with Curtis,
Thank you.
of Angel Bettis
And Kaelyn Hinton.
and Curtis
Not
Wright,
Xavier University
or Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Absolutely
or Cooking
not.
with Curtis. We're going to trademark. We're going to get registered. I'm going to be on the BT version of the cooking channel.
You need to. That's a great idea.
Mhm. And this smells delicious. I just want you to know.
Thank you. So I hope you guys are, I hope everything's going well at home. Make sure you put your questions in the chat.
I'm
Right.
scared to turn mine now because I don't want to have a.
So usually when you're cooking salmon, if you're going to cook it on the stove, you would cook it to halfway and then flip it. But we're just going to cook the bottom and then we're putting it in the oven.
Right.
And we're going to put it in the oven at 450 for 15 minutes at most. You don't want your salmon to overcook because it'll be not good. It'll be dry.
No, and you don't want it dry.
Not at all.
Not at all. One of the other major issues that's facing the Supreme Court, well, there's many, right? So literally maybe the day after the election, there is a case out of Philadelphia where religious exemptions are being considered. And some organizations are attempting to deny access to services for people who are LGBT and for people from religious minorities like Muslims, Jews, right? Today is National Coming Out Day. 1 in 5 children who are LGBT kids are homeless. And the idea that before the Supreme Court, they're now trying to decide whether or not certain rights, whether it's access to health care, whether it is access to services like homeless shelters and those sorts of things, can be denied by those organizations based on their desire to create some, not necessarily religious exemptions, but in my opinion, religious exclusions. So when we think about religious freedom being at a Catholic institution, right? Where for many people, you know, it's surprising to believe that Joe Biden will be elected our own second president of the United States, who's a practicing Catholic, right? So there are people who've been denied access based on being Catholic, right? How can you stand as allies to other marginalized communities to be able to make sure that maybe you don't have their lived experiences, but your voice can help shape their experiences?
I know earlier this summer there have been marches all across the country. There's been because of the Black Lives Matter movement. I have participated in some, and what I will tell you is what was beautiful to see was not only were they saying Black Lives Matter, they were also saying trans lives matter, gay lives matter. Because when you are a marginalized group, the last thing you want to do is further marginalize or discriminate against another group. So I think that it's going to take minorities who are quickly becoming the majority to speak out against the injustices in this country. You know, and oftentimes when you do that, you're seen as angry or you're seen as not being grateful. I am grateful, but I don't feel me speaking out for other people or for people who can't speak for themselves is me showing my hatred of America. That to me is exercising one of the rights that America granted me. You know, when you have others who say they want those statues to remain, they're seen as patriots. You know, they lost the war. Get over it. You lost. You know, you want to say to them, move on. But I think it's very important that, again, we unite, and especially there seems to be something in the Christian community, oftentimes, or certain religious groups, where if you are gay, that they don't believe there's a communication or a relationship or any type of spiritual relationship. That's absolutely not true.
Yeah.
So, are we ready? Is this going in the oven?
It is, but we basically just finished cooking it on the stove. But put yours in the oven, cook it on the stove. Either way, it'll be great. This is what mine looks like. I have flipped it. I'm trying not to get my computer oil in it again. But that's what it looks like so far. And make sure, again, if you're cooking it on the stove with us, look halfway. And once it's halfway, flip it, and then cook it at the other side. But I'm gonna take mine off. Oh, yours looks beautiful. Whoa, yours looks beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead and take mine off.
And you see, I'm having difficulties trying to put my gloves on because I need some hand exercises because these gloves are too small for the fat fingers that I have.
All right. So we're done with our salmon, and we're gonna go back to our rice now.
I'd like to say this, Dr. Wright, I'm very happy to see, I actually saw the social media this week, right here at Xavier, celebrating.
Absolutely.
I think it was National Coming Out.
Exactly.
Was that what it was?
Yep.
I saw it on social media, and that let me know just in the 20 years since I graduated, how far the university has come to be more inclusive and in creating safe spaces for students to be.
Right. And actually tonight in the ballroom, there will be the documentary called Game Face, which chronicles a trans woman who was a mixed martial artist and a young man who went to a school in Oklahoma who played Division I basketball. And it talks about their experience coming out. And then there will be a live Zoom conversation with him afterwards. It was a Netflix documentary. So the Office of Inclusion and Social Justice is working hand in hand with the Department of Athletics and SGA put that on. So we're hopeful that students recognize that everybody's voice and everybody's life matters here at this institution.
So we're gonna go back to our rice really quickly. It should be done, and hopefully you can see maybe on someone else's camera. But we're gonna now add honey to our rice, and just drizzle it on in there. Stir, give it a good mix after.
So this is the only non-vegan thing I'm going to put in here because I don't know.
There's no substitute.
There's no vegan substitute for honey.
That's all right. And so just mix it in there. Let me take it off the burner because it's not cooking. Mix it in there, and then we're going to add our mangoes. I like my mangoes to be diced. You put in one mango, dice them up. Mine are sliced right now. And just mix it in there while it's hot. It's okay. Try to break them up a little bit more. But I like to mix mine up. You can also just put it on top. But
I actually made this last week at home, And I too I parted my mangoes, but today I'm going to lay them on top.
So just give it a good mix. And that's it for that. And our last thing we have is our broccoli. It's our broccoli. So usually for my broccoli, I just cook it with butter, little cayenne, little salt and pepper, fried in the pan, a little stir fry type thing.
We have some prep buckets behind her, so I'm trying to remember which was red is water, correct?
I think red is sanitary, and then green is bubbles and soap.
Okay.
I'm not too confident in that though.
Well, I just have my other stuff. I'm just gonna mix my broccoli in with that.
Yeah, it's just a little season, ain't nothing.
The sanitary stuff in it.
Put it in your.
So as we're preparing.
Can I move this somewhere else?
As we're getting the broccoli sauteed in here, I'm interested in knowing why are you voting specifically? When I was walking across the street, I ran into Sister Juliana, who is a music faculty member here, has been here since Dr. Francis first became president. And one of the things that she was reminding me of is that she's a poll worker. And she's been working the polls for the vast majority of her time here, and she's still going out to work the polls in less than a month, because that sacred right is so important for her. Why are you voting, Kaelyn?
I'm really excited to vote. First of all, just because this is my first presidential election voting that I get to vote in.
Congratulations!
I know. Thank you.
Are you voting absentee or are you voting in Louisiana?
I'm registered in Baton Rouge, so I'm making that hour drive because I did not put my location here.
She's driving to Baton Rouge to vote.
Yes, it's worth it, guys. But yes, I'm voting just because, like many of the points mentioned today, healthcare. That will really have a big effect on my life if Trump stays in office and decides that I need to get health care for myself, rather. Just for representation. And just really, it's a chance for my voice to be heard. I feel like, I think I have a statistic or something that of all millennials and just the younger generation that can vote, our vote will outweigh the older voters. So that might be like the baby boomers or Gen X. I think our vote will outweigh theirs. So I think it's just a really good chance for my vote to be heard personally.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Bettis?
I vote because I can't imagine not voting. For all the people, and I hate to say it this way, who were hung, dogs picked on them, hoses, beaten, spit on, intimidated, the crosses burned in their yards. Can you imagine me, as fortunate and as blessed as I am, not voting after just 50 years ago, people that look like me endured that? So I would be remiss, and I don't know if I could even live with myself if I didn't exercise my right to vote. And that's why I don't engage with ignorant say, well, it doesn't matter anyway. It does matter.
Right.
It does matter because the president of the United States also appoints federal judges, and that's important because it's not just who the president is going to be. Who are your state officials? Who are your sheriffs? Those are in Florida. Those are like traditions. We vote for sheriffs and counties. Your county commissioners, your city council people. So yeah, that's why I vote.
Right. I saw in Kansas right now, there's every 10 years, the state house has the ability to redistrict the congressional districts. And so right now, three Congress people from Kansas are districted as Republicans. And so they are attempting to win the state house in Kansas so that they would be able to redistrict to essentially make it impossible for the woman who's currently the sitting congresswoman to be able to be reelected because her district to be largely Republican. And that's one of the reasons that you have to vote in the local elections, because the state governments control the gerrymandering, right, the redistricting. So it's important to vote. And for me, I think about not only my personal family's history, but this institution's history, right? And the fact that freedom riders were housed secretly on this campus so that they could come in and go and help people register to vote, risking their lives, traveling from all over the country to come down here and do that. And our legacy, I think, requires us to do just what we're doing. And for those of you in Louisiana specifically who've not registered to vote yet, you can do it online. The 13th is the deadline. If you want to register to vote in the state of Louisiana, you can go online to register by October the 13th. And if you go to any of your state departments, Secretary of State's departments, you'll be able to website, you can be able to see what those are for your specific home states. If you want to vote in your home states.
And many employers are letting their employees be off this year to go vote. You know, I know Old Navy has a campaign encouraging their employees to vote. And don't just take yourself, take your friends, take your grandma, take your cousins, take everybody you know, go vote. And I'm going to say this: take your mask, take a folding chair, take some water, because I know the lines in Florida, even with early voting, are very long. So they would not be trying so hard to put all these stumbling blocks in our way if there wasn't something important. I mean, the very question was posed to the vice president during the debate about the transition of power if 4.5 is not reelected. And he wouldn't even agree that it would be peaceful. So that alone tells you they're not going to abide by the Constitution of the United States. I mean, that alone lets you know we need to vote.
Right. And now more than ever, we need a plan to vote, as Dr. Bettis said. Right. So I want to take a little moment. We have the magic of television to demonstrate our final product. So so you will see it has been plated by our chef James Bettis, who was here at Daycare for Executive Dining Hall. He was in that preparing while we were preparing. I didn't do the line for that.
Good.
It's on the camera over here. So our production managers have
we don't know what we're doing.
This one is my oyster mushrooms, and then this is one that chef prepared that is vegan, not vegan, but salmon with all the Florida. So I can't wait to taste it.
Yes.
But I don't have my taster.
I know I don't have a fork.
We'll have to get some.
If you guys are cooking along with us, tell us know how it is. I'm gonna save you a bite, girl. I got you, Majesty. Got you.
So now, while we're getting ready for our silverware to have a taste of this deliciousness, I want to make a little bit that we have not missed questions from the audience.
4.5.
But also, if there are questions from people who are here with us, in the dining hall, please feel free to ask your questions and engage in this conversation.
Yes. Oh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to try it.
We're about to
I'm gonna start with the broccoli. That's safe.
I'm starting with the salmon. That's the good stuff. I gotta start with the main meal, the prize. It's good.
It's very good.
It's good.
Well, I like the little kick to the habanero.
I must admit, I told Kaelyn earlier this week, why, after the other groups did easier recipes, would you choose such a complex recipe?
We had to get all or nothing.
I'm very happy she
Go
did.
big or go home.
It's delicious.
Go big or go home.
And the rice is delicious. And honestly, if we can turn my camera, the chef has created, for those of us in the audience, so that you can taste it, the chef has put that together. So please, you won't be able to taste my mushrooms. If you want to come up and taste right here. But the chef has the salmon, the rice, and the broccoli for those of you in the audience.
Oh, this rice is good. Yes. You get a plate. You get a plate.
Everybody gets a plate.
So the replacement for the salmon was oyster mushrooms. And typically when I make them, I will fry them like regular, like chicken. So take a egg wash and any sort of breading that I want to make it, and then I will fry them, and it has the consistency of like chicken. But my concern is that when I eat spice, my forehead and the top of my head begins to sweat.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so if you see a little glisten,
No worries.
it's happiness. It's the happiness of food, right?
If you can see all this social distancing and sanitizing that is going on behind us, you all would enjoy.
We love it.
But I would like to say, since you're not here in the studio dining hall with us, I would like to thank the students who came out to help us set up. Because we put out a feeler to see if anyone would help set up, and I must say that the coaches came through, and we had students. Joshua Clay, he is a freshman. He came this morning. Eli, he is a senior. He came to help us, and then we have Elijah, always late, but he gonna come. And Morgan, and we also have Trey is here, and Daryl, and I'm sorry,
And Hillary here. Shout out to Hillary.
So we are just very grateful for all the students who came, and they really helped us out today. So
yes,
and
appreciate the support.
Then we have a special guest that's here. We'll save her for later. Oh, and the person who doesn't like to be on camera, Mr. Roundtree. You know, it's all his equipment here.
Yes, we have the lights, we have this Liz.
Yes.
This studio.
It's extravagant.
It's really, really good.
Yes.
It's really good.
Delicious.
I'm glad you guys
Do
like
any of you guys have any
it.
questions as we begin
I want my
the
rice.
dine? They are all hungry, absolutely.
I'm getting the rice from my pot because it's
Thank
warm.
the staff.
Oh yeah,
Here for accommodating us,
for sure.
because we came in and we've taken over their cafe, their dining hall, and for making the same meal for our audience here. That is very, very kind. The chef actually sat down with us to review it. We felt really special when he did that.
And then we have 2 weeks really before election. So next Sunday,
Make a plan.
we'll be having Cooking with Curtis with a student, a freshman, a sophomore rather, named Yahan. She's on a cheerleading team. She's Miss Sophomore. And she will be joined live from Los Angeles by the Selena Cuffy. So Selena is the president and CEO of Sodexo Magic. So the parent company for our dining, which is the dining facilities for many schools all across the country. She reports directly to Magic Johnson. And she is an amazing businesswoman, entrepreneur. And she will also be cooking with us next weekend as we think about, as we get closer to the election. We're there. Thank you, Chef.
Yes, thank you.
Delicious. I'm going to give you my mushroom recipe so that you can feature it on the plant-based aisle over there.
Yes, that's a good idea, actually.
On the plant-based aisle.
There are some happy eaters in our audience too. They're quiet. They've gone quiet over there. They're eating. Thank you so much.
Someone mentioned that they were grateful that you were able to normalize the experiences of Black women, right? And the authenticity that Black women bring to the conversation. And I think that the same way that your son as a child looked at Barack Obama, and then it wasn't a fantasy anymore, right? So I can remember the election and thinking, is this going to happen? Because for me, and I'm not that old, right? We're not that old. But the idea that this would never happen in our lifetime. And now he only knows 2 presidents, and one of them was a Black man, right? And I think for women, and specifically women of color, seeing Senator Harris, even on this platform, but hopefully in the White House, will also change that paradigm so that people can see themselves. And now it's not aspirational anymore, it is something that I can go to, right? It's a goal, right? And so that to me is why representation, as you said before, Kaelyn, matters.
And I also think that it highlighted the double standard in this country, and the hypocrisy. So you have this group who identify as being Christian, evangelical, pro-God, pro-life, yet you will malign and humiliate and call a woman out of her name. You call her a dog, they call her a bitch, and irrational. And these are just the tweets that I've seen in the last several days. Hateful, angry, baby killer. And I'm thinking there was a time when, and I'm not that old, when you could disagree on politics, but at the end of the day you were still friends. And that wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of mutual respect, because you still had a mutual respect amongst one another. That's long since forgotten about now.
Yes.
Now reaching across the aisle is frowned upon. And I just remember when the 2 parties would work together, there was always disagreements. There were always different viewpoints, but it wasn't as ugly, and it wasn't as the personal attacks, and just the level, the diatribe. It's just at an all-time high, and it only served to further divide the country, whether it's on race, whether it's on religion, your socioeconomic status, and it makes you even look at your neighbors a little bit differently.
Right.
Because I do live in a red area, and my thought is, you invite me to your home. We play tennis at the same club. We golf, we swim, but yet you can start someone who lies, not only lies, but he makes fun of people with disabilities on an open stage. That should have been enough for so many, but it wasn't. And I don't know where we draw the line anymore. And it is time for, the system is broken in a lot of ways. And it's time we get back to using common sense and being kind. But like I said, you can have a different opinion regarding politics without it being dirty, without it being ugly. And I want us to get back to that point.
Right. And I think it's trickling down, right? And it's not even trickling, it is actually raining down from the senior most levels of our government into our state houses, into our college campuses, right? Where people wouldn't necessarily take to Twitter and attack people, but now it's normal. And you can point to the commander-in-chief and say, well, if he can do it, then so can I. But I too am longing for that space where that is inappropriate. Right now it's normal.
Accepted. Yes, now it's like the norm, but it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be the norm. No, that shouldn't be. I mean, we're living in a time where we have a female governor in Michigan where there was a plot to kidnap her. Think about that. That would have been unheard of just a decade ago.
Right.
The whole country would have united around her, and that would have been, oh my God. Now it's okay.
There was a sheriff in Michigan saying, well, maybe they were just trying to make a citizen's arrest because they didn't agree with her policies.
this is an elected official
Right.
who is justifying a plot to kidnap.
A federal crime.
Right.
A federal crime.
And the FBI had to come in and intervene. That's
where we are.
That's where we are. And my hope is in folks like Kaelyn, right? And your children, right?
Yeah.
Because there is, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't necessarily think it's the train, right? So what I want to do now, because I'm thinking about folks' time, I'm seeing that people are excited about the MPHC Greek love here, right? But I want to, is it okay if I bring up? Yes. So I'm sitting here looking at probably when I think of Xavier, and I've been here now 2.5 years, there are institutions about this place, right? So there is the most beautiful chapel that I've ever been in. There is our legacy. We will be seeing the renaming of a major highway in the city of New Orleans to our President Emeritus, removing the vestiges of slavery from the shadows of our institutions. But one of those other institutions is our beloved alumna, Ms. Brendolyn McKenna. So Ms. Brendolyn is here with us today, and I just want to see if Ms. Brendolyn can come up. Now, Ms. Brendolyn is also a member of this Alpha Kappa Alpha, correct?
Yes. She was actually the assistant graduate advisor of Epsilon Tau for a number of years.
So you knew her when you were an undergraduate?
She knew a lot of undergraduates.
And not only has she been a pillar in this community, but she's a pillar in the New Orleans community. And when I think about why we vote, there's no better person to help us understand the importance of why we vote than Ms. McKenna, and her generation is why we're here. So
and
please.
Ms. McKenna is from Selma, Alabama.
Selma. So Ms. McKenna, please join us in the kitchen.
Thank you so much for inviting me to come up and join you.
Can y'all hear Ms. Brendolyn?
You can use my mic.
Well, yes, I am from Selma, Alabama. I came here to Xavier in 1963. And of course, you know that march took place over the bridge. Took place in my hometown. I was a student right here at Xavier. My parents would not let me come home. Why? Because it was such a volatile time and so much violence on in the world. They were taking people off of the buses, beating them up. And I had family already there. And my father said, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it here. You take care of getting your education. We need you to get educated. So you stay there. My younger brother and my nephew were foot soldiers. They marched across the bridge. They were taken to the jail. They were branded. And that particular nephew is a proud Xavier graduate also. He's a physician in Chicago. So that's why it's important. It's so important to vote. So many people suffered just for us to get this opportunity to be able to press that button and vote for the right thing. And we can't not do this, because if you stop doing it, then we're responsible for all of the bad things that can happen to us as a result of not voting. So if you got a crowd to vote, you get out there and you vote. I don't care how long I have to stand in the line. I'm voting in person. It is so important. But as a side thought, I want you all to know that I love you, Xavier Rights. And this has been a difficult year for you. I know it's been really difficult. You thought you were going to come to school and party and have a lot of fun, and you haven't been able to do that. But this is your past, I promise you. Things are getting better. If you look around, they really are. Don't you think things are getting a little better? But you got to do your part. You got to wear those masks. You got to wash your hands. You got to practice that social distancing. And you got to believe that things will change. It's going to take time, but things will get better. But this is the opportunity now for you to apply yourselves. You know, if you were able to party, then you would have that as an excuse as to why. Well, I didn't do so well on that test because I was partying instead of studying. You don't have that excuse now. Your grades ought to reflect how you have really applied yourselves. It's also showing your level of maturity because you have to accept this thing. It's not going to go away. And you're not going to change it by being angry about it. You have to accept it and trust God to get us through this. This too shall pass. I love you. I'm going to ask you to show me some of those grades.
Me too.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. This is the beauty of Xavier, right? We have 3 generations of Xavierites right here. Brilliant Xavier women. I think Dr. Bettis told me there's something about those Xavier girls. And we see it represented with us today. And they go out into the world and they do make good change. So thank you so much, Mr. McKenna, for being with us and for those words and for your legacy, right? You've been doing this for a long time. And what you do allows us to be here. So thank you. So as McKenna said, if you got to crawl, get out there. And if you're looking to volunteer, we certainly are going to be doing some voter engagement things on the day of the election. SGA has scheduled a whole host of different things where they're buying water, they're buying snacks, we're ordering pizza. We want to make sure that if this is your precinct, you're at home. We're going to make sure that however long you have to stand in that line, we're going to take good care of you. So please, if the students out there who are interested in being a part of the conversation and who want to be able to vote, participate in voter engagement activities, talk to the SGA, Tia Alexander, and they're creating those experiences right now. Right. Are there any other questions that folks might have before we begin to wrap up? I'm looking here real quick to make sure we didn't leave anyone. Okay, so I'm going to ask each of our panelists, our guest chefs, what are your hopes? What are you hopeful for? And if you could leave with a positive message, what would that look like?
Following Ms. McKenna, I'm hopeful for a uniting of our country. I'm hopeful for our youth, because I actually think, and when I say youth, I'm thinking of those 18 to 25 who, I mean, Kaelyn said this will be her first time voting in a presidential election. I'm hopeful for them because I have to say, when I was their age, I can't imagine what they're going through right now. And they've handled it. I think they've been under intense pressure. We've all had to pivot, is what I've said, and make some accommodations in our life that we never thought we would have to. But I'm hopeful for health. I'm hopeful for being able to have civilized conversations again. You know, I'm hopeful for a vice president who looks like me in January. I've already bought my plane ticket. I have my hotel reserved. And that is no exaggeration. Nobody knows it's true. I land on January, I believe, 18th. Now, I do have the option if we're not but I am a believer in truth, and I know that if we all do what we're supposed to do, which is vote and encourage others to do the same, we will be victorious. And that is my hope.
Yes, my hope is that our voices will be heard this time, especially like I said earlier, we have the majority vote as long as us 18 to 25-year-olds vote. I hope for our voice to be heard. I'm hoping for the same with unity. I really think it's just time to stop dividing ourselves, and all this bickering and things like that, I think is just not good for us. And I'm also just hopeful just for the future. My belief is that all leaders go through the hands of God. So whatever at the end of the day, whatever happens, God will.
Thank you. And before I tell you what I'm hopeful, I'm going to tell you what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for the two of you for spending time with me today. Dr. Bettis for flying in from Tampa. I don't know if this was the only reason you're coming, but I like to believe that it is. And so I thank you for coming in and supporting this very, very important conversation. Thankful for our executive chef, James Betts, here at Sodexo Magic. I went to him and said, is this possible? And he says, absolutely. And it's better than I thought it could have been.
Yeah.
For our production manager, Mr. Roundtree, who, if you could see it, there are lights, there's cameras, there's microphones, there's tape all over the floor. But he wanted to make sure it was professionally done. And I'm thankful for our students, right? This is an important conversation. And the only way that you can bring about change is if you begin and find yourself at that table. And I think what I'm hopeful for are our students, right? I said it last week when Dominic was on. He had just spent the day before out in Lake Charles volunteering for those folks, and our hearts are breaking for them again, right? When the tropical storm Delta hurricane just came back and went through that community again. But our students keep reminding me of this place called hope, right? Because they understand that they are directly standing on these shoulders. So many amazing people, and they're preparing their shoulders for your son, right? They're preparing their shoulders for Kaelyn's grandchildren. And I am always inspired every time I come to this campus, because for the first time, if you look at this mural, right, there are these brilliantly, beautifully bronze faces of people who are unapologetically nerds, of people who are living their truth. At a time when some people still don't think their voices and are more important, their lives matter. So I'm hopeful. I find hope in them, and I find hope in each of you. So thank you so much for joining us today on Cooking with Curtis. We again will be back next Sunday with a delicious menu and some more engaging conversations. And thank you for joining us from the audience. Take good care and have a great rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye.